how could asking better questions actually help you create the life that you want? Well, my guest today is an expert in asking powerful questions, and some of the questions that I have learned from her have made a huge impact on my life and my business. Joanna Vargas is a dynamic entrepreneur, a dancer, and a fitness professional. In her latest creation, the Get Up Girl podcast, Joanna pours out her wisdom every week through her stories, tools, and her radical candor. She believes that when you ask better questions, up-level your habits, and get real, you will live a happier life. And I think that's something we can all get behind. So much for tuning in today. I have such a treat. I wish you could see her face right now because this woman is pure energy. She is like the definition. If you look up fireball in the dictionary, I think her photo is there.
Fireball.
Actually, you could tell me if that's the truth. And that's funny because it's a Pitbull tie-in and you and I have a serious love for Pitbull. Joanna, I'm so excited to have you here.
Lindsay, I have been counting this down. I'm so excited. And I hope everybody listening does not turn it off and go, these two are too much.
There's no such thing as too much.
Right?
There is not. I think our audience can handle it. I think they can handle the fire. But I will tell you, if you're listening to this and you think you're going to go to sleep, like maybe you're listening to it in bed before you go to sleep, turn it off and wait until tomorrow morning.
Okay. Maybe you're a robot or something. Yeah, wait till tomorrow. We'll get your day started. Let's do this.
That's right. So, okay, I texted you a little while ago because I was like, how have we not done a podcast about this powerful question, which we're going to get to in a moment. I'm going to make the people wait because I want to go into a little bit of your story. But I literally texted you. I was like, how have we not done a podcast on this? Because I learned this little technique and question from you. And it's literally changed my life since learning it back in January. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to make you wait to hear what it is. But I do want to start with you and your journey because you've had an incredible career spanning from fitness to dance and all the things that I love as well. So take us back to what inspired you to go into this crazy world of entrepreneurship and where you find yourself now as we record this podcast and, you know, the whole world has just changed and gone upside down.
Totally. Lindsay, it's in my blood. My grandma was an entrepreneur and she was the one person that lifted me up and celebrated when I was 8 years old, having a lemonade stand. I was that girl that would go pick the avocados and then sell them back to the same owner of the house. I would go to Mexico. I remember when I was a little girl. Yeah. And buy these little like Mexican candies and then sell them for $0.25 at school. I would trace drawings and then sell them for $0.25. Everything was $0.25, right? I could make $1 out of 15 cents. And I was just always had that in my blood. And then in high school, I was that girl that was on everything, ASB. I was that overachiever. And I never wanted to go to college. I was that girl that stood out. I was different, and I wanted to be like everybody else. So I did go to college and I discovered I hated it. I didn't fit in. I don't belong here. I cried every day. Then I transferred from UC Santa Barbara, went to Long Beach State. Did the whole sorority thing. And Lindsay, I'm going to college, but I'm only there for like the socialization and so that I could lead the sorority. I was like having the hustle in the sorority. I was leading the events. I was, the president. I was this and that. So I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but not the school, quote unquote, but I love to learn. So with that being said, I always wanted to be a dancer. The first time I saw Paula Abdul on the American Music Awards, I felt a download. That was my first download. I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And I could feel the universe saying, you're going to have a dance studio and you're going to do that when you grow up. It was that fast. And that was my first one. And ever since then, I've had downloads. And whenever I get a download, I take it and I run. After college, I got a dance agent. I was auditioning. And I don't know if I told you this, but I literally seriously wanted to be the next Jennifer Lopez. Like that was on my vision board. It was no joke. I'm going to be the next dancer, choreographer, singer, actress. And Then I started doing that and I hated it. I'm like, I hate Hollywood. Screw you people. And I started teaching dance. And I love teaching dance. And I discovered my superpowers. See, Lindsay, what I discovered was that what I thought were my superpowers were not until I actually realized. And the first thing I tell people are do everything like a buffet. Do it all like a buffet because you're never going to know what you're like or what you're good at if you only go into one career, right? And I think that's what people do in corporate. They go into one career and they go, oh, I don't like this because you didn't have a buffet. You went to one thing. So I did a very lot of things as a buffet, discovered that I like teaching dance, opened my dance studio, and then sold that, started events and 5Ks, and I did booze cruises. I produced that. I did a dance DVD. I have a fitness studio. I mean, I'm not saying this to say, hey, look at what I've done, but I'm saying that because what I've discovered is that what my superpower is creating. I create, pass it on, legacy, create something else, sell it, pass it on, legacy. And that's where I am today.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to circle back to what you were saying about the buffet because I use that term all the time.
Yeah.
I refer to, I forget which year it was now because it feels like this has been the longest year. If it was 2019 or 2018, I refer to as my buffet year because I had to try a few things under the umbrella of my company to decide what was a fit and what wasn't. And I think I was always taught that that was wasting time or I should just know, I should just have this clarity. And I love that analogy because, first of all, I love a good buffet. Who does not? And second of all, like, this is how I am at a buffet. Tell me if you guys can like relate to this. I'll like try all the things, but the moment I try something and I'm like, that's not for me, I'm going to save my calories for like the brownie, right? I'm going to save my calories for the thing and like my just fullness for the thing that I really, really want to eat. And it's okay to do that with finding your purpose too. I freaking love that you said that.
Yeah. Talk about that with fitness as well, because I think a lot of people think I have to do HIIT, high intensity interval training. This is it because that's what I heard so and so do. I'm like, try it all. And then another term I use, Lindsay, is date things. So like you're dating your workouts. I'm going to date Pilates right now. I'm going to date yoga. I'm going to date HIIT. And then because you're not going to marry the thing right away from the beginning, you're going to date first. And then you try this date, and then you try this guy, and then you marry one. But I think sometimes we marry something right away without dating it. So you go on the buffet, date them, and then you can get married.
And then what I heard in that too, because I just literally went back to all the times when if I had thought about it like you're describing, I would have avoided beating myself up or feeling like a failure if something didn't work out for me.
That's like getting married on your first boyfriend. Do you remember your first boyfriend?
Oh,
I
Lord.
was like 11, right? Imagine I had to marry that guy. It's the same thing. I'm like, no, I've dated many, many, many guys after that. We're not going to get into that. You know
different
what I mean?
Different podcast.
Way different podcast. But right, the fun is in the journey of the date. And so that's how I see also your superpowers, what you're good at and what you really like and what you discover. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit about one of your superpowers that, at least this is how I'm calling it. You are a master at asking really powerful questions and specifically asking powerful questions that get your brain working toward the kind of life that you want to live. So, the question that you taught me that has literally changed my life, and I use it all the time, is this little question of how does it get any better than this? Oh, it's so good. Okay, so tell us the story behind when did you adopt that philosophy in your life? When did you or who taught you to use these powerful questions? I know you have so many others. Who taught you that? Or was it a download like your dance career?
I was at a retreat about 6 years ago, and she taught us this. And the whole retreat was about consciousness, and it was about conscious business. And I went in there thinking I was conscious. And actually, what consciousness is receiving everything and judging nothing. So I'm going to say that one more time, is receiving everything and judging nothing. And I went in there receiving what I wanted and judging everything and
The
thinking,
opposite.
the total opposite, thinking I know everything. And I'm at this retreat and she starts asking us questions, but without telling us anything. She would just ask us a question, anything. Well, how does it get better, Joanna? Who does that belong to? Well, what is that? What is that telling you? And the whole time my brain is like little, like just yoked. And I'm going, this is what happened, Lindsay. The whole retreat, I'm trying to answer the questions. I could feel myself like trying to answer them because that's what I was taught since I was a little girl. Answer the question, have the answer, because if you don't, then you need to go to the back, you're failing, whatever you want to put in there. And what I discovered was to allow life and the universe to send me or gift me the awareness, the answer. I am not required to answer it. I am required to get curious. And the more curious I get, and the more curious I get, and the more curious I get, and the more I'm able to receive without judgment, that's when the answer, the awareness is always better than I can ever imagine. And going back to the question, how does it get any better than this? I ask it when things are great, and I ask it when things are crappy. I don't ask it in either or, okay? Let's say you have the best sex of your life. And at the end, you could say, how does it get better than that? And notice, Lindsay, how we're taught the saying, oh, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that. I've seen memes with that. And so that actually limits our possibility. And the universe, God is saying, it actually can get better. But our logical brains go, oh, it can't get better than that. So when you ask it when it's great, oh, how does it get better? You will get even better sex. Or you might get something else that's not sex. You might get the best brownie of your life. And you're like, oh.
Basically the same thing.
Hey, okay, another podcast. Or let's say you're having a really bad day. For example, the love of my life, I just found out that he has a new girlfriend because I want to get real, right? And these are things that happen. And it stabbed me in the heart, turned the knife, and And the question I asked was, what is the gift in this that I can't see right now? Because it doesn't feel like a gift. And here's the thing, I got to really get curious, Lindsay, because if I ask it with a little, how does it get better kind of energy? What is the gift in this energy? Then life cannot deliver me the answer. And that will always lighten it up a little bit. It'll lighten it up, even if it lightens it up a millimeter, and you're able to get back up. You're able to keep moving forward rather than you stay down. And the questions are what help get me out of the crap, get me out of the bad days. And next thing is, ask a question. Don't answer it. Notice that you're going to want to answer it. Get curious and then be open and wait. The answer sometimes comes in 5 seconds and it sometimes comes in 5 months. It always comes and it's always better. And it's always, I'm not going to say always, most of the time, different than what you expected.
Gosh.
And one more thing, Lindsay, I do want to put out there, the gentleman that I was dating, I mean, he was the love of my life. This was, last year. And we kept asking, he and I together, how does it get better than this? Because I taught him the questions. How does it get better? We'd text each other. How does it get better? And then he broke up with me. And it actually got better. But see how we logically, conceptually think that better means with us. And what if there's actually another gentleman out there that's actually better for me? But he's not here yet.
Yeah.
But the more I get curious, and the more I get curious and trust, and I'm aware, I know that I can invite that even better relationship in. But can you see how the logical mind thinks, oh no, but that guy was the best. He was just the best out of all the other guys I was comparing to. And what if there's actually somebody better? And I think once you're really open to that, you're going to receive more. And I've noticed when I teach the questions to some people, I think it scares them because it's actually a magic wand and it will give you better. And it's a little scary, right? Because you're going, I was asking, how does it get better than this? And he broke up with me, and it's actually better. I'm actually able to create my podcast and my new businesses because it's opened up space and possibility.
Yeah, I'm just putting myself in those shoes and definitely thinking back to times when I didn't understand why what was happening in the moment. And now looking back can see how it was better. But had I been equipped with questions like this, it almost puts, I'm thinking for myself, it puts me in a posture of surrender, not having to figure it all out, which is what I always think I need to do with life, always. It really puts me in the posture of surrender, which I do think is where the magic happens, because I can consider things that weren't already in my awareness. That curiosity piece, like you talked about. Oh, it's so powerful. So, how can people be using these questions? Or maybe there's even another one that you've really been leaning on in this season. This year has been a tough year for some people. It's been a great year for some people. There's a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty. We're kind of like, yeah. We're all over the word unprecedented. We get it. Like, this is the reality. But I actually think in a shakeup like we've all been through, there's so much new possibility present if, and there's a big if, we're looking for it or we're open to it. So tell me a little bit about how you've been using these powerful questions or coaching the people that you coach to use them, and what can we all learn from that?
Right when the pandemic happened in mid-March, I went right into the question, what is the gift in this that I can't see right now? The same question that I was using before. What is the gift? What is right about this right now that I can't see right now? What is the good in this right now that I can't see right now? You could just put in whatever word works for you. And that is a powerful question whenever there's something that you're trying to figure out. You're like, I don't get it. Somebody passes away that's close to you. What is the gift in this right now that I can't see? And another question, a very simple one, I think would be, what else is possible? Just those 3 words. What else is possible? And then you can actually go deeper and go, what else is possible that I can't see right now? What else is possible for the planet right now? What else is possible for my business that is more than I can ever imagine? But if somebody's new to questions, I would start with, how does it get any better than this? The next one I would add is, what else is possible? And then the next one I would add is, what is the gift in this right now that I can't see? And as you strengthen that muscle, it's just like your abdominals, your biceps, your hamstrings. I don't know anybody that does it for one day and then you look like J-Lo, right? I mean, she's been working out for a very long time. Same thing with the question muscle. It's a muscle, and we're going to build it. And you're also going to build your curiosity. Just use the information of your body when you start to go into the answer. Notice and feel it like, oh, I want to answer this right now without any judgment. Go, oh, that's interesting. I'm just so trained to answer the question. And in my opinion, it's because we've been taught since we were so young that if we don't have the answer, we're wrong. And I feel like our whole life, we're just defending like how right we are. That's why we want to like defend what we're saying. Let me defend and throw this in, which equals also story. Of course, we've all heard of, we're telling the story. What's the story you're telling? A lot of that is just defending. We're defending. Let me tell you this story so I can defend why I did this. I can defend my past. And go even deeper is that we're trying not to be wrong. And go even deeper is to answer the question. I mean, there's just layers of why we want to answer the question. And that's why the muscle takes a while to build, because it's all those things that we've just been trained. And when getting curious, I do want to remind everybody to really receive and judge nothing. Because you'll notice when you answer the question, if you have a wall up, if you have a barrier up, and you're you're like punching things away and you're kind of asking it with an FU energy. I've heard clients say, Joanna, this question thing isn't working. Well, you're probably asking them with a little wall up and an FU in it. Can you ask it with a true kid-like curiosity? And remember when we were young kids, like, oh, stop asking so many questions. Stop asking so many questions. We were taught that questions were not celebrated. So we learned how to turn off the questions. We learned how to shut up. Look at adults. You ask a question in a meeting. Does anybody have any questions? Who raises their hand? Nobody. Little kids, does anybody have any questions? They'll raise their hand. They don't even know what they're going to ask. I don't know if you've ever worked with kids, but they will raise their hand just to raise their hand. And I would like that for us as adults to receive and get that back, the curiosity factor.
Yeah. Wow. So true what you said about questions and how we really have it almost trained out of us as we get older. Or if we do raise our hand and then we're wrong, like you said, that deepest fear, then we start to diminish our a willingness to show up and just get it wrong. I can definitely relate to that on such a personal level.
Mm.
I also love this piece that you're sharing about the energy with which you ask the question, because that, even if you're saying all the wrong words, if the energy is right, you're still going to get the answer. So how can someone start to reframe that energy? How do you coach people if they're a really ingrained FU, right? Like that's been the way they show up in the world, or it's very resigned to the fact of how their life is, it could never possibly get better. What's the access to that right frame of mind?
Mm. Oh, well, one thing that popped up is that energy of the behind it is usually a why question. Why is this happening to me? Why does this always happen to me, God? You know that question when
Yes.
one of your girlfriends calls you and she's like, why? I don't understand why.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Lindsay, because when we ask, why is this happening to me? God is actually answering you. You go, oh, you want to know why? Here's more of why. And then you keep asking, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? It keeps happening because you're asking for the awareness, and the awareness is more of the why. So God's like, here, the universe is here. Here's more, here's more. The first thing I would have somebody do is to just be aware of what's going on in your body, in your thoughts. Just be aware. Like for 1 week, just know and be aware. And all it is information. The moment we judge it, oh, this is wrong, I'm feeling like this, we will start to judge our own selves and to beat ourselves up, and just to know that it's information. Okay, so I'm going to go back to curiosity, Lindsay. Let's say, for example, I'm beating myself up. I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, you're so fat, you're so ugly. I could get curious and go, oh, that's interesting. What is that? Did you hear that I also asked a question? What is that? What is that voice? Rather than, why am I saying that? The difference in question?
Yeah.
What is that? And all I know, it's information. It's not wrong that I'm calling myself fat. It's not right that I'm calling myself fat. It's just information. And another thing, and I know this is a lot of information if you're listening to this right now, but I do want to throw this in. Knowing the difference between our thoughts and feelings, and they're not ours. So which one is ours? We have thoughts and feelings, but we are not our thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Say that one more time. We have thoughts and feelings. We are not our thoughts and feelings. When I look into the mirror and I say, oh, I'm fat, I have them, but I am not them. And that's where the curiosity comes in. And that's where the information, oh, that's just information. It's just a feeling, but it's not mine. And the moment I make it mine, Lindsay, I buy it. I buy the lie and I take it on. How many times have we bought something from a store, from Amazon, and we don't like it? What do? We return it. I mean, I hope so, rather than you're going to be a hoarder and you have so much stuff in your house. But most likely I return stuff. These thoughts and feelings, all this crap that we're buying, because we buy it. The moment you take it on, you bought it, and now you put it on like a jacket. You can return it. Go, this is not mine.
Not my size.
Yeah, not my size. Exactly, Lindsay. Exactly. Amen. It's not my size. I'm going to take it back. It's not mine. Again, those thoughts and feelings, I'm looking into the mirror. Return that. That's not mine. Information. I mean, I know I'm going really, really deep here, but I do want to throw that in there.
Oh, that's so good. Even to have those little triggers, because the thoughts sometimes come automatically. It's such a response. We don't always have control over when the thoughts happen, when they trigger, but we can pause. And I remember a day, I've shared this on the podcast before, but when I was really starting to become aware of this, of some of the thoughts that I was having, and when you become aware of it, it doesn't have as much power. But there was literally a day I was scrolling on social media, just my daily Instagram scroll, you know, we all do it. And I was having just this great day. I remember being so happy and just feeling like really excited about what I was working on that day. And as I'm scrolling, all of a sudden I just became aware that I felt like I was literally slimed with like Nickelodeon goo, and it just started to like wash over me. Just this like acute awareness of how not awesome I was, or that was at least what it felt like. And for the first time ever, I remember pausing and saying, whoa, like where did that come from? Because a few minutes ago I felt one way and now I feel another. So it can be so subtle like that. But if we can start to become aware, we can bring the curiosity back. And I love those questions to help to reframe that. You know, what was that? Where did that come from? Ooh, yeah, that didn't fit. That does not work for what I am up to right now. Return to sender, stamp it.
Return to sender.
So good.
Because Lindsay, our human bodies are the most miraculous machine on this planet. They're miraculous. Our bodies, and it's science, regardless if you're like woo-woo or science, it's the same thing in my opinion, right? Our bodies are amazing. We can create another life in our tummy. And that we are energetic beings picking up radio frequencies. We could feel people's energy. And of course, you're going to feel good and then scroll on social media. And I wonder whose that was. Like, what was that? That you're able to pick up energies and other things by looking at a picture. Now, isn't that interesting? And what else is possible from looking on social media and knowing the difference of which are my thoughts and feelings and what am I picking up?
Especially with social media, such a good reminder. I need that. I'm like, thank you. I'm going to file that one away. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, we love to keep it real around here. So I want to know, what's something that's currently more of a challenge for you right now that you're bringing curiosity to and you haven't gotten your answer yet? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Oh, girl, launching my podcast. This thing has been in the works for 3 freaking years. And really getting curious and leaning in and not beating myself up for not pulling the trigger yet. And noticing that there is a lot of fear that is not mine of being big. There is a total upper limit. Noticing the information when it's coming in. It just happened to me yesterday, Lindsay. I actually thought of you because I'm like, whoa, this is an upper limit. What is this? Whose is this? What is this? And I was vacuuming and I just got really curious, but you could see how this, I can actually ask the questions while I'm doing a daily task. Yeah. Nobody knows I'm doing it, Lindsay, because I'm just doing it in my head. I could be doing anything and nobody knows that I am asking questions in my head. Again, you could just, it's really cool because you can do it silently. So I'm vacuuming. I'm like, oh, what is that? Oh, interesting. Okay. That's not mine. That's something I'm picking up or whatever that is that I bought. Yeah. That having a podcast is scary. I bought the lie that if I'm too big, I'm going to have too many DMs or whatever the lie was. I bought it on. Oh, return that. That is not mine. Boom. And then press the send button. So that's what I'm going through right now, really noticing that I've been playing small.
Okay, you are speaking so much truth into my life. And I notice for me, and I think this is so important for everyone to hear, you are someone who's accomplished a lot of great things. And now you're going to do the next big thing. And old fears, old stories, old lies come back in. I'm going through the exact same thing right now, getting ready to launch a new program. All of a sudden, like out of nowhere, I'm like so excited about this program, and all of a sudden these thoughts or just little downloads of like, well, I don't know, should you really be doing this? Other people have better things. So if you are feeling any of that when you're going to launch your next big thing or take the next action step, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. That's usually a sign we're going in the right direction. We're getting dangerously close to a breakthrough that we haven't experienced before. But I know it gives such permission for me to hear you share that. And I really, really hope everyone gets this, that there's no one you look up to at all that isn't experiencing those fears, doubts, insecurities, imposter syndrome, a whole cocktail mix of all of it when we go to do the next big thing. So I'm so grateful that you were just vulnerable in sharing that.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah. Was it because now you're going global? Because this is what I noticed. I was the badass in my local, I did a music festival. Well, that was local. I opened a dance studio. Well, that was local. And now the podcast is like, oh my God, I'm going to have people all over the world. It's different. Like it's bigger that way. And I think people from the outside might go, well, you've already done that, but you're afraid of that. Interesting. And again, just information coming up.
It's true. And I've definitely dealt with that when launching this podcast, something about having a bigger platform, even though I knew that it allows us to make a bigger impact. And that's something I'm really committed to. But there's the fear side of being seen for sure. And I've really had to be mindful and notice it. And again, you said this so brilliantly, not judge myself for it when it does show up.
Yeah. Receive all, judge nothing. I'm going to get that tattooed.
I was going to say, I was about to say the same thing. Just the next tattoo, you and I will go together. Okay. So you brought this up. I want to hear it all about the podcast. So we're putting it on blast now, and people are going to want to know where they can find it and when they can listen to it. So we're just going to create some massive accountability right now.
Heck yeah. Launching next, whenever this comes out, it'll be out already. It's called The Get Up Girl. People always ask me like, what are you good at doing? And I'm like, you know what? I'm really good at getting back up. Like I will fall, I'll get back up. I'm like that little clown that just keeps hitting, getting back up. I'm like, how can I teach the women out there how to get back up without the judgment, without I can do this and then I call this like the penis energy of like, I can do it and screw you energy. And I'm going, wait, I know you're laughing, but
I'm dying right now.
And then with like the loving energy and the receiving energy and the boundaries down energy and the soft, beautiful energy and powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what the Get Up Girl is about. Everything about the questions, everything that I use, the tools. And Lindsay, this is what I've noticed because I am a self-help junkie. I've done every course. I've walked on every hot coal. I've broken every, wood plank. You know what I mean? And what I discovered was that it was the same cliche of tools. And I'm like, it's still not working. I'm still miserable. I'm still like, something's off. That's what I got. And I wonder if others are feeling the same way. I don't know if it was like a upper limit that I hit because I'm like, there's more, or if it was something else, I wonder. And then when I went to that retreat, I discovered the questions, I discovered authentic consciousness. I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is actually where happiness is when boundaries are down and I receive and I judge nothing. That's actually where happiness comes in. And I think about Gary Vee, if there's any Gary Vee followers, how he talks about a great comment or not so great comment. He's like, they're the same to me. No big difference. And I kind of see his consciousness the same way. And so that's what the Get Up Girl's about.
Well, I know I cannot wait to binge listen. And it's ironic it's called the Get Up Girl because I do feel like you should really listen to this podcast in the morning to get you up and going for the day. So maybe you'll just become like my new alarm clock.
5 a.m. club.
Elliot will wonder why Joanna's voice is in our bedroom at 5 a.m. Just kidding. I don't get up that early. I'm like a 6 a.m. girl.
Okay.
So, we can obviously find you and support the podcast. What are some of the other things that you have going on? What are you most excited about this year? Tell me all of the goods.
I started a new fitness academy. And same thing with fitness as with like the tools that I was talking about. I'm like, I'm noticing that fitness is out there. We have free videos on YouTube. We have everything we need on a cell phone that is more powerful than sent the first, astronauts to the moon. And yet we still are getting bigger, gaining more weight as a society. What is it? I really went into the question, what is it? And I discovered that just because we have and know what to do with fitness, it still comes down to mindset. It still comes down to consciousness. It still comes down to habits, right? It's all that foundation. So I've created this academy. It's called the Live Fully Academy. It's fitness based, yet teaching you all the other habits that we need or require in order to actually get there. This is not a quick fix for fitness. This is not a 30-day. If somebody says it's going to be 30 days run for the hills, they're lying for you, right? Lying to you. And so that's, the Live Fully Academy.
Oh,
I'm excited
my
for
goodness.
that this year. I'm really excited because now I'm teaching what I want to teach, Lindsay, rather than I was teaching fitness before for what I thought everybody else wanted.
Yeah. Oh, what a blessing in itself to come out of this season. I could just talk to you all day long, and really we should arrange that. Maybe
we need part 2 and part 3.
I think we do. I'm just going to go ahead and invite myself onto Get Up Girl so that we can do this again.
Oh yeah, we are. And if you liked it, DM me. If you didn't, DM Lindsay, okay?
You could just keep those to yourself, actually. That's just fine. Okay. You're entitled to your opinion, but we just don't need to hear it.
This girl's too much.
Oh, goodness. Well, I cannot wait to share these powerful questions with our audience. I know they've made such a big difference in my life, especially in those moments where I am the most vulnerable. I am really buying into the lies. And that is what this journey looks like. If you are on a journey of growth, you're going to consistently be hitting those different upper limits that make you go back inward and get really curious about what it is that's getting in the way of you making the impact you're meant to make. So I cannot wait for everyone to hear this. And what we would love for you to DM us is take a screenshot of this and tell us what you experience when you start using these powerful questions in your life. I know we would love to hear that. So where can people cyberstalk you on Instagram?
Joanna Vargas Official.
Oh, she is official, friends. Okay. We don't just bring anybody on this podcast, only the official. Oh, okay. Well, one final question, and this is one of my favorite to ask, especially powerful women like yourself, because I think it's really important to get in the habit of always acknowledging our own greatness, big and small. So the question is, what is one powerhouse moment you have had? Maybe it's in the last week or two, could just be this year. And a moment that, even if it is something small, now looking back, you realize, wow, I really showed up like a powerhouse in that challenge or in that moment or in that really awesome thing that I did. So what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I produced a music festival 3 years ago. Every single person, down to my parents, were like, you can't, this is impossible. Everybody at the city, this is impossible. Every business, you're crazy. This is impossible. And I just kept going forward with the loving energy. It wasn't a pit bull energy. And the powerhouse moment, Lindsay, was when I booked the band that I wanted. I booked Capital Cities, and they closed the night. And I'm standing there in the front, and I look back, and there's 5,000 people. And I looked to the guy that helped me produce it, and we looked at each other and we're like, we freaking did it.
Wow.
And it was that second, that moment of like, yes, you don't have to be a pit bull to get things done. You can be beautifully strong and powerful and do it through love, and it can happen. And anything you set your heart on, and know that your compass was leading you, because I heard a download, Lindsay, and it was like, I just kept going. I just kept going. It was my Steve Jobs of like, create this iPhone moment. And everybody else is like, you're nuts. Boom, moment. And every time I need like a little adjustment, Joanna, you did that. Know that the downloads, know that the compass is leading you there, and trust your knowing. And that's my powerhouse moment.
So beautifully said. And I'm just so grateful to have a powerhouse like you in my life. And I'm so grateful that you spent this time with us today.
Lindsay, from the second I met you, I just like fell in love with you. I just wanted to eat you up. And I'm like, that's my girl. And everybody listening, I am in such gratitude and such appreciation. And thank you so much, Lindsay. And I am honored to have done this. Thank you.